what is the minimum funding amount? If you're establishing a foundation, if you do any sort of research, there's going to be all these things about you have to have tens of millions of dollars, and this is only reserved to the wealthy of the world. And that's actually why I got into this in the first place, is I wanted to establish my own foundation. And I'm not a multi-hundred millionaire. And I've gone round and round and round on what is the optimal amount. And the answer is it depends. When you file your taxes, you either standard deduction, which for coming up 2026 is going to be 32,000, I think 32,500 for married filing jointly. So 93% of Americans don't itemize, meaning that they have itemized deductions in excess of that amount. Literally 7% of Americans technically would qualify to actually have their dollars be deductible. And this is another side. It's like the charitable world, they're saying, hey, your contribution's tax deductible. It's tax deductible, which is true, but you're not actually seeing that tax benefit. So in order for that to be true, you would at least have to exceed the standard deduction. So at the purest minimum would be something like $35,000. But then we're getting into the complexity and the cost. And at that point, it's probably not very efficient to be at that lower level. So I've gone away from that. And I make it very simple now. If you can write a check for at least $100,000 and not think twice about it, a private foundation might be a good opportunity from a charitable standpoint. If you couldn't do that, or if it would be a big stretch to do that, private foundation probably at this point is not a good opportunity for establishing some sort of charitable benefit or charitable fund. Something like a donor advised fund might be better. Just direct giving might be better. And people tend to think in tranches of tens, essentially. So it's like, I'm going to fund $100,000 a year. I'm going to start with $1 million. I'm going to start with 10 million. And then past 10 million, it's totally into dynastic and generational wealth. And it's totally random at that point. But people typically think like, yeah, I'm a round number, 100,000, million, 10 million. It really depends on the mindset of the person and their long-term vision of what they want the foundation to be. You contribute to the foundation. You can grow it in a tax-free environment because it's 501c3. It is exempt. By not having the money in the foundation, if you're growing it elsewhere, you're still going to be subject to taxation. By donating it to the foundation, you're getting the immediate tax deduction. So that's saving you money on the upfront. And you're growing the money tax-free. And then ultimately, the money is being utilized in a tax-efficient manner. There's fringe benefits or possibilities and things like that. But that's where, if you think about this over a long period of time, if you just run a pure investment calculator, we have a certain amount of money on an annual basis that's being put into the foundation. It's going to grow at a reasonable interest rate, not subject to taxation. What would that look like over the next 50 years? What would that look like over the next 100 years? I'm working with a family that is in the 7th generation of having their family foundation. If you look at compound interest over 150 years, it doesn't matter what the volume of money is because it's still just purely based on compound interest is going to be a huge sum of money. And that's why I hearken the foundation to be a perpetual giving fund or a sustainable giving system, is whether you put another dollar or asset into it or not, it will ideally continue to grow as long as it's stewarded properly. So that's where, even if you're under that $100,000 mark, if your goal is to do that on a consistent basis over a long period of time, and then maybe there's a sale of a business or income increases or other family members want to participate, and then you have the successorship component, you have your kids and your kids' kids take over that and steward that, and your impact continues to grow. That's really the point.